Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I'm your host as usual, and obviously welcome back to the show. Today's episode 137 of the show, and before we get started, I'm going to do a house cleaning quick because, well, you know we always like to do it around here, so, like, I'm just being honest. You guys already know what to expect when it comes to this, so, yeah, I guess we should just go right into house cleaning, you know, because, yes, why not? So, yeah, I always like doing this. It's fun. But I do want to thank you guys for coming back and listening. It really means a lot to me. You guys constantly keep coming back and you keep listening to these episodes. You keep downloading them. You keep sharing them. And you keep letting me know how you feel about the conversations. Because like I said, a lot of these topics, you guys are the ones who vote on them. So, you know, of course, I'm going to be talking about what you guys are interested in because you're the ones that vote for the episode. So, you know, like you guys vote for them. So we're talking about them. I also want to say thank you to the Patreon backers for coming back and supporting the show because, well, you guys are great. You guys support me. Even though there's only one of y'all, I still greatly appreciate you because it's just, you know, it's one person. And I will say, yes, we're still working on getting a lot of the benefits for the Patreon backers going. So we're still, you know, working out some of those kinks as well and getting them ready and finalized to, you know, be published essentially. I'm also, as a side note, because you could probably see the box in the background, that I'm actually using my new audio interface this time. And this episode is not sponsored by them. It's just I bought the interface because I was really interested in it. I was, you know, looking for a new upgrade for the system, and it overall fit the bill for me. And it's the SSL 2, which solid state logic 2. It's, you know, it's the new audio interface they made that came out this year. I'm actually really liking it. So, you know, let me know what you guys think. If you're listening to the episode, then, you know, then let me know what you guys think about it. If it sounds good, if it sounds bad, like, you know, if you really even notice a difference. But to me, it definitely sounds much better compared to my Focusrite Scarlett. And especially with some of the features that comes with the interface, I definitely like it more than my Scarlett. So I'm very happy with how it is, and it's going to be the interface going forward. So yeah. I also want to say thank you guys for helping us hit 1,950 total downloads. It really does mean a lot to me. You guys constantly keep coming back and you keep downloading these episodes. You keep sharing them. And for me, like I said, hopefully we can get to 2,000 before the end of the year, which we got a month left. So yeah, hopefully we can do that. But keep downloading the episodes, keep sharing them. It really does mean a lot to me. But it's time that we finally go into the episode, which is funny that I'm talking about this because I actually have firsthand experience with this thing. And so what we're going to be talking about is the RTX 3070 launch. We're talking about how NVIDIA handled this launch. We're talking about like what was different, if anything was different compared to the 3080 and the 3090 launch. And we also need to talk about how the Radeon 6000 series plays a role into the 3070 launch, and how does it, I would say, impact the sales going forward. Because yes, the 3070 launched on the 29th. That's what happened. They launched on the 29th, and I would say Radeon event was on the 28th. It was the day before. However, the benchmarks for the 3070 were revealed on the 27th, the day before the event. So these two topics are very intertwined with one another because they play such a big role. But I will be doing an episode about the Radeon line, or the Radeon 6000 series, in its own right, because it deserves its own talking point. However, I will say that this episode will have a lot of, I would say cross discussions. Essentially, like there's going to be topics that relate to the 6000 series, but it also has to be intertwined with the 3000 series as well. So there's definitely going to be a lot of interesting conversations we're going to be having in the foreseeable future regarding these two GPUs, or regarding NVIDIA's 3000 series launch and Radeon, or specifically AMD's 6000 series. So let's get right into it. So what happened exactly the day of the launch of the 3070? And the reason I say I have a good experience with this is because I actually tried to buy one of these hoes day one, and I failed miserably. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I failed pretty bad. I was up with my friend. We were both refreshing the page. We were up like at 7:30. I woke up like at 7:40. So I said I was gonna be up like at 7. I woke up at 7. I'm like, 5 more minutes. I woke up like 40 minutes later. And we both woke up, and we were both in the process of, booting up, getting our computers ready. We're in the Discord call. We're just talking, laughing it up, just like having a good time. And it was interesting because his order went through. Mine did not. And it was very fascinating, especially because when they went live, I saw on Newegg how a lot of the GPUs were available. And then like a second, maybe like 2 minutes later, they were all gone. And then, so Newegg was completely done. And Best Buy, people were having issues like mine where it would go through, but where it would put in the cart, but it wouldn't go through shipping because of stupid means. And then by the time you even finally got through shipping, it was like, well, it's sold out. So SOL basically. But my friend got one. And it's funny because I actually got to see him use it yesterday because, well, okay, time of the recording yesterday. In actuality, in terms of when the episode goes live, it will be Monday. But so he got the graphics card on Monday, November the 2nd. And I got to see him try it out. I got to see the frame rates. I got to see the performance. And it's definitely impressive. Like, the benchmarks didn't lie. This thing is very, very impressive for what you're paying. Like, especially for $500, 2080 Ti performance is very respectable. For $500, I think that's very respectable. And for a lot of people, it's definitely a good buy, to be honest. For a lot of people, it is. And for anybody that was lucky to get one, congratulations, you were able to get one. But this doesn't really excuse the whole situation that NVIDIA didn't handle this launch the best. Yes, do I believe it was still better than the 3080 and 3090 launch? Absolutely, I still think it was. But I still think NVIDIA has poorly handled this entire situation. And I think it, like I said, I think it mainly comes down to the fact of the Samsung 8nm process being horribly inefficient. And we've seen this, like we've seen the yields. We've seen how a lot of, I'd say, board partners are making these graphics cards and they're noticing like, look, we can't really push higher because it's already pushed to the limit. You can't push higher. Because that is what NVIDIA did with the 3000 series, with the founder card specifically, is that they are already pushed to the limit. There is no more headroom. And that's why you see a lot of issues with the overclocking, where there's so many issues with the overclocks where they're not performing up to the standard that a lot of people were expecting, because they thought, oh, we're going to have so much more headroom, we'll be fine. And in reality, there isn't so much headroom. So then you're kind of SOL. So that's why you see cards blacking out screens. You see a lot of issues happening. And that's just the cold, hard reality is what's happening. Is you're seeing these, sadly, you're seeing all these issues. And for me, it's very fascinating, But in regards to the whole 3000 series, yes. I think it's fair to say NVIDIA has literally fumbled this entire launch because they were not expecting, like they say they weren't expecting the demand of these graphics cards, which I still think is bull, because it's like you have this hyped, anticipated GPU that a lot of people are waiting for, that you've been telling people, hey, the 3070, the $500 graphics card, the mid-range card is going to be performing at the level of last year's or last generation's flagship card. And then the flagship card, the 3080, because the 3090 is considered for the professional workload. It's not really considered for gaming, even though they advertise for gaming. So it's like a whole jumble mess. But the 3080 is considered the peak, the pinnacle of the lineup. And yes, it is impressive. It is a very impressive card. No one's going to lie about that. However, these cards have issues. And the fact that the 8 nanometer process is horribly inefficient, that leads to really bad power draws. Like the fact that these things are pushing like 325 to 350 watts power draw is ridiculous. The fact that, yes, these things will heat up your system a lot because of how much power they draw. And it's kind of sad at the same time, but it also makes sense because it just felt like NVIDIA really rushed this out. It just felt like they needed to get this out because they knew what AMD was coming up with. And this isn't me being an AMD fanboy, because I'm being honest, I have no reason to fanboy over AMD or NVIDIA. Like, I'm just being honest. My computer uses the Ryzen 9 3900X and my graphics card is a 2060 Super. I have gone on record and said that for me, I'm always going to choose an NVIDIA graphics card because of the benefits that come with, you know, I would say with video editing, the fact that I use Premiere. So as a result of using Premiere, I get better accelerated performance when using an NVIDIA GPU. You know, also I'm more comfortable using the drivers for NVIDIA compared to AMD, which we'll talk about that in a little bit once we get into the 6800. But NVIDIA has definitely fumbled this launch because they make up BS claims that they weren't expecting the high demand for these cards, even though they did. They knew people were talking about it. They knew the second they showed the performance, people are going to shell out their wallets and they're going to be like, we want these things. Give us these things. And the fact that people are willing to go out and buy these cards off scalpers, which scalpers, you know, scum of the earth. I'm just sorry, but they are. But the fact that a lot of people still went out and bought these cards off scalpers because of how bad they wanted them. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's what's going to happen is like people really wanted these cards. So they were going to do whatever it takes to get it. And to be honest, it's very interesting, but that's not the end of the story. The fact that the 3070, yes, for the price to performance ratio, it's incredibly good. And yeah, it sold out instantly because, well, why wouldn't it? It was literally the most anticipated card. I wouldn't say of the lineup, but it was definitely the more likely and the most accessible. And there was also reports that Micro Center had hundreds in stock in local stores, and that some people, I saw a post on like, I think it was a Facebook page where people are like, I walked in like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This is like, you know, Central Standard Time, that they walked in at 2 o'clock and there was still some left and he was able to get one. He just walked in. And I'm just like, crap. I wish I was in Dallas because I probably would have got one. But, well, okay. I personally don't care that I didn't get a 3070. I'm just being honest. I'm happy with my 2060 Super. It still plays all my games at my frame rate, like at 1080p at high frames. And, you know, high resolution as well. And, you know, I also got the Xbox. So, you know, I got the Xbox, and obviously you will be getting a day one review of me once I get the Xbox in, which, you know, once we get it in, we'll be doing a review, unboxing, all the whole shebang. And I'll let you know what I think about it. But I will say that, you know, especially going back to the 3000 series launch, it only makes sense that we talk about the Ryzen 6000 series, or not the Ryzen, but the Radeon 6000 series, or, you know, obviously Big Navi. A lot of people were very eagerly anticipating what was going to be shown off, because Big Navi, like I said, a lot of people were like, this is going to be AMD's chance to give NVIDIA competition in the high end, and also, you know, try to get some of that market share and also show what they have been able to work on. And yes, based on what we have seen so far, the 6000 series looks incredibly impressive. The fact that the 6800 has 16 gigs of VRAM, which, keep in mind, all the graphics cards in the Radeon lineup have 16 gigs of VRAM, and the fact that they have a max power draw of 300 watts is very, very impressive, because they're also using their 7 nanometer process, which hasn't changed. Because I think what really benefits AMD in this case is the fact that they didn't need to work on a new die. They already had a very efficient die. The 7 nanometer die was incredible. And the fact that they were just able to improve on it and just reuse it means that there's not really so many big issues with inefficiency gains, because now you're really able to push it to its limits, which, granted, we know next year they're going to switch to the 5 nanometers, which only makes logical sense because Apple's already switched to 5 nanometers as well. So I wouldn't be surprised the industry starts trying to follow suit quickly. However, we also have to keep in mind that when you looked at the price to performance ratios with the Radeon 6000 series, yes, the 6800 is meant to compete with the 3700. The 6800 XT is supposed to compete with the 3080, and the 6900 XT is supposed to compete with the 3090. And when you look at it, yes, a lot of people state the fact that the 5800, or specifically the 6800, doesn't make much logical sense because it's $80 more than the 3070. However, the main benefits with getting the 6800 over the 3070 is 16 gigs of VRAM, better power draw, and at the same time, you're also getting similar to better performance for $80 more. And I think for a lot of people, they're willing to shell out the $80 more if it is true that the performance is identical or even better. And especially when you're looking at, say, the 6800 XT, which I agree with what Linus Tech Tips said, where the naming scheme didn't make much sense. I think it would have been smart to just go with the 6700 XT, 6800 XT, and then the 6900 XT. It would have made much more sense than just doing a 6800 and 6800 XT, because it, based on what they said, even just based on some observations I made, I think it doesn't make much sense that they did that or named it the way they did, because that, say, going from 6800 to 6800 XT means that there's a very little jump, when in reality from the 6800 to the 6800 XT there's definitely a big jump. So I think it was a very bad move to have them so similarly named, because it didn't make much logical sense. But I know a lot of people are still like, $80 more, bud, like really? And to be honest, this is the whole point of competition. Now you look at the 6800 XT versus the 3080. The 6800 XT starts at $649, while the 3080 starts at $699. And then you look at the 6900 XT to the 3090, the Radeon starts at $999, while the 3090 starts at $1499. And obviously the main difference is the 3090 is going to have 4 more gigs of VRAM, and at the same time it's going to have a little bit faster clocks. Or based on what I saw, no, the 6900 XT actually has faster clocks. It has less VRAM, and it's obviously more power efficient, so it's only drawing 300 watts in total. Now granted, I will say this, yes, AMD has shown their own bar graphs, they have shown their own performance benchmarking, and I will still say, take it with a pinch of salt. That's just the cold hard reality. Take it with a pinch of salt. Do not take it literally. Do not take this as gospel truth, because it's not going to work out. Don't take this as gospel truth. Have people actually review the card, have actual benchmarks done by third parties, done by people like Hardware Unboxed, Linus Tech Tips, you know, all these other people, Bitwit, whoever is going to do performance benchmarking on these things. And at the same time, wait to see some reviews in terms of driver performance, because I feel like a lot of people seem to forget that with AMD graphics cards, that's always been the main issue, is the drivers. That's always been the issue. And I think what a lot of people need to realize is, yes, we have to be wary, because that's the cold hard reality in the situation, is that AMD does not have the best track record when it comes to drivers. I get it. People are like, you know, we're going to brute force our way through this. You know, we got enough power. We're going to brute force through it and we'll be fine. However, it's not, because there's definitely issues with the drivers. The drivers are not the best, and there's still issues, because I think that's why a lot of people still go with NVIDIA over AMD in terms of graphics, because of the consistency and the reliability of the NVIDIA drivers, because they just work. And that's not even just stating that like to be an NVIDIA fanboy, that's stating it as objectively as possible, that they just work. I don't have to worry about these kind of issues with an NVIDIA card. And with AMD, it's a bit up in the air, because yes, it's a very exciting time to be an AMD enthusiast, to like AMD, to support AMD. However, we have to be mindful that they don't have the best track record with these things. And we have to be mindful of it. Yes, I would say in the CPU space, they pretty much have crushed Intel at this point. And, you know, Intel will still try to fight back, which I agree. I want to see better competition. But we're not going to pretend like AMD hasn't made some impressive products, like with the 5000 series CPUs. Like, they're amazing. Like, I personally will not upgrade. I'm going to wait to the 6000 series to upgrade. But I will say that it's very, very impressive what AMD has been able to do with the 5000 series. And it's jaw dropping on how good it is. And now we have the 6000 series Radeon cards, and they look just as impressive, if not better. They look amazing. And obviously, yes, there's special features like combining the two, like you put a 5000 series processor with a 6000 series graphics card, you know, you get some special bonuses. But how does this affect the 3070, especially now that 6800 exists? And it really just comes down to how AMD handles the launch. At the same time, it also depends on how AMD is able to present the information, present like the actual stocks and how much they have of these cards. Because I guarantee you, there's a lot of people that are very interested in these cards. There's a lot of people that are going to go out and buy them. And I think this is something that it feels like AMD is more prepared to handle it. It feels like it, to be honest. It feels like AMD is more prepared to handle this coming sale, because the fact that they're using a process that they already have, the 7nm process, so they probably just already had a lot on stockpile, just like a couple hundreds of thousands of extras just lying around that they already had, so they just used it. But it's interesting. I'm not gonna lie to you, because I know my friend, he bought the 3070 and he's like, man, maybe should I have waited? You know, should I have waited? And I'm like, I think you're fine for right now, especially because you only do gaming. But I will say, once we see those drivers, once we see the stability of the drivers that come with the AMD graphics cards, this will make it or break it. Because like I said, the drivers is what has led to a lot of people ignoring Radeon graphics cards. Even though the 5700 XT was an incredible graphics card, it was outperforming the 2070 Super at the price of the 2060 Super, and it was a good value. The only problem was the whole issues with the drivers. The drivers weren't the best, so there was definitely some issues. And then you also had the thermal throttling, and then you had a bunch of other issues. So to me, it's going to be interesting to see how AMD handles this launch, what to expect with AMD launching these cards. But at the same time, it makes you question, is the $80 more? Is the $80 that you are going to spend extra on the 6800, does it make more logical sense to just get the 6800 for $80 more? Or should you still go with the 3700, or specifically the 3070 in this case? My bad. Does it make sense to go with the 3000 series, you know? And for me, it's a tough decision, because it really just depends on the drivers. I know I keep harping back on the drivers. However, that's a big part in buying a GPU, is the stability, especially when you have a lot of people working at home and building computers for the first time for their workstation computers. Reliability and uptime is key. It's critical, especially for a lot of professionals, a lot of people that rely on their computer to do a lot of work that needs to be going every second of the day. And for a lot of people, that's a concern, is the reliability. And I think that's something that we as consumers have to be mindful of. We have to keep our hype and expectations set and just be honest with ourselves. Like, look, there's issues. This isn't perfect. We know that there's going to be some rough patches, you know, but it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I know that NVIDIA has not handled the 3000 series launch well at all. This entire situation has been a shit show. It's been a joke. And in my opinion, it really is AMD's, I would say, gain at this point to make sure they have plenty of cards in stock, that they know that, hey, we've been working on these things for a while now. We definitely have a lot in stock. And the fact that the board partners are waiting a little bit longer just so AMD can get as many as they can selling the Founders Editions. So then the board partners also have more time as well to, you know, do any fine touching or anything like that. But in my opinion, it's definitely very impressive what AMD has done. I think the 6800, I know a lot of people say that it doesn't make much sense in the price to performance comparison. The fact that you're trying to compare the 3070 to the 5800, the fact that it's an $80 difference, that NVIDIA has the cheaper card this time around, even though you look at the other ones, NVIDIA has a more expensive card. But the battleground is mainly going to be with the 6800 and the 3070. That is where I feel like the battleground is going to be. It's going to be with those two cards, because once we have the performance benchmarking in and we have the comparisons, then it becomes a question. Is the performance and the extra VRAM worth it for $80 more? Is the driver still an issue that you need to be concerned and worry about? Because like I said, driver stability is very key. It should be an important thing. It should be at the top of your list. But in my opinion, I'm very interested to see how this plays out, because in the end, we all win, because that's what happens with tech nerds and tech enthusiasts, is that when there's competition, we win, because we will get the best product possible from these companies and they will be trying to earn your dollar. And I think that's what really we should be doing, rather than the company or doing everything we can to make the company try to earn our dollar, when in reality it's the company that should be trying to get us to buy their products, because they know they can't survive without us. And I'm excited to see how this plays out. You know, let me know in the comment section down below, like, what do you guys think about this? How did you guys feel about the 38 launch? Did you get one? Did you not get one? Are you excited for the 6800 launch and the 6800 XT and the 6090? Like, are you guys planning on getting one of those AMD GPUs? Let me know in the comment section down below if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please let me know on my social media handles. Like, let me know how you guys felt about this episode. You guys can contact me directly at any time at my social media handles at SoMungie, both on Twitter and Snapchat. So, well, at Josh Stewart too on Twitter, and then at SoMungie for Snapchat and Instagram. But I'm excited. Let me know what you guys think. To be honest, like I said, AMD has really dropped the ball with this launch, and NVIDIA has dropped the ball with this entire launch, and AMD has everything to gain. To be honest, that's just the cold, hard, objective reality, is that AMD has everything to gain in this situation. But we should also temper expectations low as well, because AMD sometimes over promises and under delivers. So we should be mindful of those things. We shouldn't just pretend like, you know, AMD is going to deliver this with no issues at all, because be mindful, it's a new GPU. So I guarantee there's bound to be issues. We just have to wait and see what those issues are. Let's just hope it's nothing too serious, because then we'll be back here talking about it. But I thank you guys for coming back and giving me your time, giving me your attention, and just letting me know how you guys feel. Because like I said, I can't do the show without y'all. You guys literally pick the episodes. You guys keep supporting me. And I do want to say thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I know things have been a bit rough on my end, where I haven't been the most happy recently. So I thank you guys for being here, for listening, for constantly supporting me. And I really appreciate it. I really do. I will also say, by the time that this episode goes live, we'll already have the election results in the United States for who will be the new president. To be honest, guys, whoever wins, that's all that matters. To be honest, that's all we really can do, is just whoever wins. There's no need to complain. There's no reason to just like go crazy. Just, it is what it is. And we have to be okay with it. We have to learn to move forward with it. And at the same time, we have to learn to continue to respect and love our neighbors, continue to take care of everyone around us, because in these times where, you know, things will get crazy. Like, whatever happens on November the 3rd, whatever happens, people aren't going to be happy. So the only thing we can do is just respond appropriately as adults, as civilized human beings, and learn to lean into these conversations, and not to stir up, you know, debates and things like that, but just to constantly listen to one another, encourage one another, be with one another in this difficult times. Because like I said, things are tough right now. We still have a pandemic going on. The whole election is a very heated and controversial situation. So the only thing we can do is continue to take care of everyone around us and do everything in love and respect to everyone. You know, don't go asking people who they voted for. Don't do that. Just don't. It's not worth it. Just, everyone's allowed to vote for whoever they want to vote for. That's all that matters. They voted, cool. They did their civil duty as a citizen of the United States. That's all that matters, is that, you know, you went out and voted. And if you didn't, hey, only you know why. Only you control your decisions. You know, I can't tell you what to do, but that's just the cold hard reality, you know. But I would say continue to take care of everyone around you. Continue to love everyone around you. I love you guys to death. Please continue to be safe. Have a wonderful week. We will be back next week to talk about the 6000 series, because I want more time to digest on this topic. Like, I really need more time to sink my teeth into it and get as much details and information as I possibly can, so that I can come back to you and give you guys some nice information. I will also say though that, you know, maybe by the time the next episode goes live, I might have the Xbox and I might do something a little special, but we'll see. No promises, because we don't know. Like, if I get it day one, cool. If I don't get it day one, you know, we'll find out. But please be safe, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Don't do anything dumb. I love you guys to death, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.